Hello everybody, welcome to an installment of the Chan Academy where I am not in class. So I think your substitute is Miss McNair. Be really nice to her. She's an extension of myself. Okay, so please be nice to her. Today I'm gonna let you guys just kind of like work on the homework and stuff, but just don't get too rowdy. She had a rough day yesterday with my freshmen. Those freshmen are crazy. Okay, so please be nice to her. Alright, so I'm gonna do two problems here, A and B, number 39 from 5.4 and B from 5.5, number 31. Okay, I'm gonna post up the homework for her to like write on the board. Also, it's gonna be on the website along with the link to this video. I'll also tell her to let you guys know that it's there. You guys can watch with each other on like either a laptop or just watch on your phone. Put the volume for like 3 people or something like that. Get in a corner and then just watch it. Alright, so here's the secret to today. Okay, like if you guys aren't watching, I'll know. And it's not because you write A or B. Okay, so just for fun, I figured this would be a good test. If you're watching the video, at some point in the video, I'm going to tell you to write a secret keyword on top of the homework. Okay, and that'll tell me that you watched it or not. Alright, so that'll be our secret. Please don't tell other people about this secret. I just think it'll be funny to know who did it and who didn't. Alright, so let's go with A. Alright, and I'm going to pull it up from the book as well. The book says 39. Waterfalls, Angel Falls, and blah blah blah. World, blah blah, uninterrupted for 2,421 feet before entering the river below. The height h above the river in feet of water going over the edge of the waterfall is modeled by h of t equals negative 16 t squared plus 2,421, where t is the time in seconds after the initial fall. Estimate the time it takes for the water to reach the river. Alright, so when they say estimate the time it takes for the water to reach the river, if you could imagine a parabola, right, and it's going downwards, well, the time it takes is essentially modeled by what t is, and t represents time typically, right, where it says right here where t is the time in seconds. Okay, so what we can do is we just find the zeros, right? We can find the zeros and that'll tell us exactly where the amount of time it takes for it to fall. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this one. So I want to find the zeros for this, so I'm going to start off writing 0 is equal to negative 16 t squared plus 2,421. Okay, now from here there are two options. One is you could complete the square, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and try showing you what that would look like. You would write negative 16 parentheses t squared, and I'm gonna have to pull up a calculator here. Calculator. Alright, so I need to do 2,421 divided by 16. I guess it would be negative 16. Ooh, so even in this situation, completing the square isn't really nice, right? We can't really pull out a 16 here nicely. Okay. Alright, so this leads me to think that I should probably do something else, right? I shouldn't do this. Completing the square wouldn't be nice. Okay, now let's say I wanted to solve for t, right? That's ultimately what I'm solving for. I set the height equal to 0, right? That's h of t. The height is 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2,421 from both sides. Okay. So that should leave me with negative 2,421 equals to negative 16 t squared. Okay, now in this situation I don't have to do any sort of completing the square, right? We already set our height equals 0. That's what the 0 is on the left hand side. And then now I just need to solve for t. Well, I need to get t by itself, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 16, which we already did on the calculator. Okay, so we got 2,421 divided by 16. And I got rid of the negatives for you guys already. So 1.3125 3125 is equal to t squared. Okay, so now I'm going to take the square root, and if I could remember how to do that, it would be scientific, and I want to take the square root which is right here. Square root of 1.3125. Okay, that gives me 12.3, and I'll just round it. So that gives me t is equal to 12.3. But I'm missing something, right? It's actually a plus or minus t, or plus or minus 12.3. Okay, but in this case, which is the only one that makes sense? Do we have negative time? Obviously not, right? No matter in your pretty much wildest dreams, even physicists agree that you can't travel back in time, but you can move forward in time or slow down time. It's black hole stuff. Just talk to me after class. All right, so it's 12.3 seconds, positive. All right, so that's A, and I know that from the book you might have thought, oh, I'm going to do completing the square or something like that, and you could maybe, but it's really painful to do that. Okay. In other words, even if you have the b is 0, you square 0, you're not adding anything. Okay. All right, so there is 39, and I think the questions are written on the website and on the board. I want to say it's 39 to 59 odd, and then do number 50. Number 50, there's an error in one of these two. There's something different about it. Okay, so you gotta figure out where's the error. And just remember what we talked about. When you have this 2 here, if you distributed it back in for both of these, which one would be correct? Like, what did you really add and subtract at the same time, right? It's like adding 0, or in other words, adding 2 to both sides. Okay, because if you said 5 equals 5, that's true, and then I could say add 1 to both sides, 6 equals 6. What if I said add 1, subtract 1 on one side? It would be 5 is equal to 5 plus 1 minus 1. Still 5 equals 5. Okay. Alright, so let's talk about the second one. And these complex number ones are pretty good. I also need to talk about the conjugates, so I'll go ahead and go through B. But before I do that, I'm going to throw in the secret code word on top right now, and that is bunnies. So just write either bunnies or I like bunnies or bunnies are awesome. So just put it on top of the paper near your name, and that way I know you watched the video. Okay, thanks. And it's an Easter egg. Get it, right? Easter egg, a bunny. Yeah. All right. So, all right, let's go to the next one. We have number 31 on 5.5. It's right here. Okay. I didn't do 29. That one's a little bit too difficult, so I'm taking that one out. So 39, 3x squared minus 6x plus 10. Alright, so I want to complete the square first, so let's do that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this part out of here, this 10. I'm going to make it g of x minus 10 is equal to 3. And I'm going to go ahead and factor out the 3. Is equal to x squared minus 2. Okay, now I need to add something in here. Oh, sorry, 2x. Ooh, that was 2x. I need to add something in here, right? The third part of this polynomial to make it a nice complete square. So we look at this guy and we have negative 2. So just like you remember with the algebra tiles, the pictures we did, if you have 2 x's, right, you have to put one to the top side of the x squared and one to the bottom side. So we divide negative 2 by 2. So that leaves me with negative 1. So I always take half of b and then I square it. So half of negative 2 is negative 1, and I square it. That leaves me with 1. So what I really want to do here is this. I now have g of x minus 10. I'm going to leave something right here because I know I'm going to add something to the right hand side. How do I know I'm going to add something to the right hand side? No matter what, half of b and then you square it, it's going to be positive. True? Anything squared positive? Yep. Alright, so 3 parentheses x squared minus 2x, and what I'm going to add here is half of negative 2, which is negative 1. Negative 1 squared is positive 1, so I'm going to add 1. Now here's the key part. Did I add 1? I added 1 inside the parentheses, but if I expanded this all back out, this would be 3x squared minus 6x plus 3, right? If I look back to the top one, 3x squared minus 6x, and this would have been plus 3. So what do I need to add in here really? You're right, that is a plus 3, right? In other words, you have to think about these two. They interact as well. Okay. So you added 3 to the right hand side, you must add 3 to the left hand side. So now it should be pretty good. We get g of x minus 7 equals 3 parentheses. Now what is x squared minus 2x plus 1? The square equivalent of? It's going to be x. And we had to think about what it's going to be. Well, what's half of b? Negative 1. Okay. So we have 3 parentheses x minus 1 squared. You can go ahead and do the area model and see that it's the same, and it will be the same. Okay, so from here I'm just going to add 7 back to it. I'm going to add 7 over here. And now I'm in vertex form, right? Okay, so great. Now the last part I want to do is solve for it, right? The question says solve for the zeros. Okay, so I can solve for the zeros. That's going to leave me with 0 is equal to 3 parentheses x minus 1 squared plus 7. Okay, now from here I'm going to kind of go a little quicker here. So I'm going to subtract 7 and divide by 3. It should be negative 7 over 3 is equal to x minus 1 squared. If I take the square root of both sides, I should get the square root, or plus or minus the square root of negative 7 over 3, and that is going to equal x. And what I did is also I'm going to add the 1 back over here. I added 1 to both sides. So that should be my answer. Now, this is not a very nice looking thing, right? 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 over 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to start up the second part of the problem. Alright, so what I did is I took this and I just made it nicer. So if I have 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 7 over 3, which is right here, what I did is I said it's 7 over 3 times negative 1. Right? Now, the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 7 over 3 is the square root of negative 7 over 3. So I just kind of broke it apart a little bit. The square root of negative 1 comes out as I, right? So in other words, the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 7 over 3. And instead of saying square root of negative 1, I said I, right? So that's what it comes out to be. Alright, now, we need to talk about the conjugates real quick. Now, I need to multiply this, and we always write it in the form a plus bi. Okay, and this is already as in a plus bi. A is this negative square root 3 over 2, and this negative 2i is the bi. So we always write a minus bi as a conjugate, and the reason for that is you'll get the difference of squares when you multiply, and the i's will cancel out. So the square root of 3 over 2 minus, now it becomes plus 2i. And we'll talk about that more next class. I just want you guys to be able to find the conjugate. So the main difference is just change this plus to a minus. Okay, so instead of minus 2i, plus 2i. We'll talk about what happens next. Ultimately, you multiply, and you'll use the area model, and then you'll cancel out the i's. So we'll work on it next time, as well as the quadratic formula and discriminant. And we're just going to try to do like 3 chapters or 3 sections at a time while we hit all of them like piece by piece. Right? And they should kind of connect. And I'll give you guys a quiz soon.